As people age, they often face challenges that can make it feel more difficult to maintain or form new connections. Yet, studies from the Active Aging Institute reveal an essential truth. Seniors who engage in passionate interests are significantly more likely to cultivate meaningful relationships. This insight has been echoed through real-life stories from individuals who have found ways to connect with others through shared passions and the joy of enthusiasm. These stories, like that of Alice and Frank, Margaret and Tom, and Sarah and David, illustrate the transformative power of enthusiasm, not just in gardening, birdwatching, or yoga, but in living a fulfilling life that radiates energy and positivity. It is this enthusiasm that draws people in, regardless of their age. In fact, it might just be the secret ingredient for building rich and lasting connections in later life. 1. Authentic self-care. Embracing the body and spirit. At 73, Linda from Miami faced a dilemma that many women experience as they grow older. How do you maintain your sense of attractiveness when your body starts to change? Linda had always prided herself on being active and independent, but arthritis had begun to take its toll. She found herself using a walking cane more often, and despite her resilient spirit, couldn't help but worry about how this might affect the way others perceived her. Linda's story of rediscovering her sense of self-worth began during a senior brunch at a local community center. It was there that she met Greg, a retired professor in his late 70s, who was quick to engage in conversation. The two discussed their love for travel, books, and the beauty of a sunrise. Yet Greg was not immediately struck by Linda's physical appearance or her cane. Instead, what captivated him was Linda's sense of self-respect and the way she approached her physical limitations. Greg later recalled, "I noticed how she respected her body. She didn't push herself beyond her limits, but she also didn't let her health challenges stop her from enjoying life. It was inspiring to see someone so engaged and present, despite what they were dealing with physically." Linda's story is a powerful reminder that true attraction at any age is not based on how youthful we look, but on how we care for ourselves, inside and out. Self-care in later years doesn't mean obsessing over looking younger. Instead, it's about making choices that promote well-being and acknowledge the importance of living with vitality and respect for one's body. 2. Genuine listening. The art of connection. Eleanor, 69, from Seattle, faced her own challenges when she re-entered the dating world after losing her spouse. As a woman who had always valued meaningful connections, Eleanor found herself feeling self-conscious about her hearing aids. She worried that they would create barriers in conversation, making her seem distant or inattentive. But, surprisingly, the opposite proved to be true. Eleanor soon discovered that men, especially those her age, were not bothered by her hearing aids. In fact, they were drawn to her not because of her appearance but because of her ability to truly listen and engage with others. One man, Paul, a 72-year-old retired teacher, was particularly struck by her presence. Even when she couldn't hear every word, she listened as if every word mattered, Paul recalled. She paid attention with a focus and warmth that made me feel truly heard. This story underscores an important point. One of the most attractive qualities a person can have is the ability to listen deeply and attentively. Research from the University of Michigan shows that couples over the age of 60 who practice active listening report higher levels of relationship satisfaction than those who don't. Great listeners create an atmosphere of trust and mutual respect by offering their undivided attention, asking thoughtful questions, and using body language to show they are engaged. For Eleanor, her hearing aids didn't hinder her ability to connect. They became a tool for fostering deeper communication. She didn't focus on trying to hear every word perfectly. Instead, she honed her ability to understand the emotions behind the words. This focus on empathy, presence, and connection made her an exceptional listener. Third, kindness toward others. The beauty of simple acts. Margaret, 72, from New York, was someone who made kindness a part of her daily routine. Every morning, she visited the same coffee shop where she made it a point to greet the barista by name, ask about their day, and genuinely care about their lives. Her acts of kindness weren't grand gestures. They were simple, everyday actions that made a difference in the lives of those around her. Whether it was helping a young mother with a stroller or offering a smile to a lonely stranger, Margaret's kindness was a constant in her life. Ray, a 75-year-old retired engineer, noticed Margaret's acts of kindness as he frequented the same coffee shop. What stood out to him wasn't just her friendly demeanor or willingness to help. It was the way she made others feel valued and important. "I had been coming to this shop for months, but I never paid much attention to anyone," Ray said. "Then I saw Margaret. She made everything feel brighter. She was genuine, patient, and truly interested in others." Margaret's story highlights the power of kindness, both to those we know and to those we meet in passing. Small acts of kindness have the ability to create deep connections and leave lasting impressions. Studies show that kindness is a universally admired quality and is often what draws people together, regardless of age. The role of kindness in attraction. For Ray, it was Margaret's kindness that first caught his attention. It wasn't her looks or outward appearance that drew him in. It was the way she interacted with people around her. It was the consistency of her warmth, her ability to make others feel seen and valued, Ray later recalled. In those brief exchanges, he could tell exactly what kind of person she was, a kind and genuine soul who didn't just offer empty pleasantries, but took the time to engage with others meaningfully. At first, their interactions were limited to casual morning greetings, but over time, these brief exchanges evolved into longer conversations. They shared stories, laughter, and gradually, a deeper connection began to form. For Ray, Margaret's kindness wasn't just an admirable trait, it was the most attractive thing about her. In fact, Ray is not alone in his sentiment. According to research from the Senior Dating Research Center, 82% of men over the age of 65 consider kindness the most attractive quality in a woman, far above physical appearance or financial status. But why is kindness such a powerful magnet for attraction, especially as we age? Ruth's lifelong kindness. Ruth, a 68-year-old woman from San Diego, offers another poignant example of the enduring power of kindness. Having spent over 4 decades as a teacher, Ruth had always felt a deep connection to people, even after retiring. She continued to check in on her former students and colleagues, sending birthday cards, writing letters, and offering encouragement when needed. Ruth was the type of person who remembered the little details that made others feel special, whether it was someone's favorite book or a personal milestone they had shared with her. One evening, at a community event, Ruth met David, a fellow retiree who was immediately drawn to her presence. David recalled that Ruth had this unique ability to make people feel important, like they truly mattered. "It wasn't about what she said," David explained. "It was about how she listened, how she remembered things about people that most would forget." David's experience highlights a crucial aspect of kindness. It is often expressed in small, seemingly insignificant ways, holding the door open for someone, offering a word of encouragement, or remembering someone's name. These simple acts can have a profound effect as they reveal character, emotional depth, and genuine care for others. The confidence of embracing change. As we age, our bodies inevitably change. What once felt easy becomes more challenging. For many women, this change can cause feelings of insecurity or self-consciousness. Diana, a 74-year-old woman from Austin, was no exception. After undergoing hip surgery, she struggled with a sense of vulnerability. Diana had always been an active and independent woman, but the surgery left her with a slower gait and a reliance on a cane. She worried about how others saw her. Would they notice her limp before they noticed her smile? Would they focus on her cane instead of her presence? These feelings of self-doubt reached their peak when she attended a community dance event one evening. Initially, Diana was hesitant to join the others on the dance floor, fearing that her slow movements would be more noticeable than her enjoyment of the music. But something inside her urged her to take a step forward. Instead of standing on the sidelines, she gathered her courage, took a deep breath, and joined her friends on the dance floor. As she moved slowly but with purpose, Diana wasn't trying to recreate the woman she had once been. She was embracing the woman she was now, a woman who had weathered life's challenges and carried herself with dignity. It was in this moment that George, a 76-year-old former musician, noticed her. Diana had this way of carrying herself, George later shared. She didn't try to mask her age or pretend to be something she wasn't. She walked with dignity, smiled warmly, and had this quiet confidence that drew people toward her. Diana's story serves as a powerful reminder that confidence isn't about maintaining who we were. It's about fully embracing who we are now. Studies from the Senior Wellness Institute confirm this. 73% of romantic connections after age 65 are initiated through nonverbal attraction, such as body language and presence. Men may not always be able to articulate what draws them to a woman, but they can certainly feel it when she radiates self-assurance through her posture, movement, and demeanor. The role of confident body language. Confident body language is more than just posture. It's about how we carry ourselves and how we move through the world. For Diana, her quiet confidence became a magnetic presence, inviting others to engage with her in a deeper way. It wasn't about being the loudest in the room or the most physically agile. It was about carrying herself with grace, dignity, and self-acceptance. Small but powerful habits make a significant impact on how others perceive us. Making eye contact during conversations, standing tall with relaxed shoulders, keeping an open posture, and moving with intention, all of these habits signal that we are present and confident. Men, in particular, are drawn to women who embrace themselves fully, without hesitation or self-doubt. Dorothy, a 71-year-old woman from Portland, had a similar experience after recovering from knee surgery. She used to feel embarrassed about walking slower than she once did, often apologizing for holding others up. But over time, she began to focus on finding her steady rhythm rather than rushing to meet others' expectations. As Dorothy moved with more confidence, others began to take notice. She had this ease about her, said Richard, a widower in his early 70s. She didn't try to hide who she was or rush to meet other people's expectations. She simply moved with a kind of quiet self-assurance that made me want to know her better. The appeal of a warm, inviting voice. Another powerful and often overlooked attribute that increases in significance as we age is the warmth and tone of our voice. For Gloria, a 76-year-old woman from Denver, this was a source of anxiety. She had always been known for her strong, clear voice, but as she aged, she noticed that her voice had deepened, becoming slightly huskier. She worried that it no longer sounded feminine or engaging, wondering if people would struggle to hear her warmth. One evening at a senior book club gathering, Gloria read aloud from a classic novel. To her surprise, as she spoke, the room grew quiet and people leaned in, visibly drawn to her voice. Afterward, several members, including a gentleman named Walter, approached her. "I just love listening to you," Walter said warmly. "Your voice has this wonderful, soothing quality. It makes people feel comfortable." Gloria's experience illustrates a vital lesson. Our voices become more captivating as we age, not because of their pitch or perfection, but because of the richness, depth, and warmth they convey. Research from the Communication Studies Institute supports this, showing that 68% of men over 65 find a mature woman's voice more appealing than a younger one. It's not about how loudly or softly a person speaks. It's about the sincerity, kindness, and wisdom that the voice carries. Speaking with presence and confidence. Martha, a 74-year-old woman from Atlanta, had always been a quiet person, preferring to listen rather than speak. After receiving hearing aids, she became hyper-aware of how her voice sounded. She worried about volume, tone, and whether people could hear her properly. However, over time she realized that when she slowed down, spoke with warmth, and engaged in conversations with presence, people responded differently. Martha discovered that her voice had a reassuring quality, soft yet confident, warm yet grounded. Charles, a man she met at a local charity event, was immediately drawn to her presence. "Your voice," he said, "has a way of making me want to stay and talk longer." This experience reinforced a powerful truth. A voice that carries confidence, kindness, and presence is far more captivating than one that simply sounds youthful. The power of enthusiasm for life. At 78, Alice from Phoenix had experienced a deep sense of loss after the passing of her husband. She found herself adrift, unsure of how to fill the void left by his absence. Despite her efforts to distract herself with TV, reading, or hobbies she once enjoyed, nothing seemed to spark the same joy it once did. However, one day, while taking a walk, Alice saw a flyer for a local gardening club. On a whim, she decided to attend a meeting, not expecting much but hoping it might fill some of the emptiness she felt. What she didn't expect was that this simple decision would alter the course of her life. Through the gardening club, Alice rediscovered her enthusiasm for life. She found a community of like-minded individuals who shared her passion for nature, and her spirit was reignited. Her newfound energy and enthusiasm were infectious, drawing others to her in a way she hadn't anticipated. Alice and Frank. The Garden of Connection. Alice, a woman in her late 60s, had always been passionate about gardening. Her small vegetable patch and the herb garden on her windowsill were her sanctuary, a source of peace and joy. She had no idea that her love for growing plants would soon lead her to a deeply meaningful relationship. At a community gathering, Alice met Frank, a retired school principal with a warm smile and an easygoing nature. Frank, who had spent many years cultivating heirloom tomatoes, quickly found common ground with Alice, and the two began to talk about soil quality, watering schedules, and the intricacies of sunlight exposure. These seemingly simple topics formed the foundation of their friendship. Over the course of weeks, Alice began to look forward to their conversations with increasing enthusiasm, eagerly sharing her own gardening updates with Frank. Her eyes would light up as she spoke about her plants, and Frank couldn't help but be drawn to the excitement and joy that seemed to radiate from her when she discussed her little garden. Frank, initially just a fellow gardener, soon found himself inspired by Alice's passion. He had always enjoyed gardening, but her energy made him look at his own garden in a new light. Her enthusiasm made him realize how much he had taken his own love for gardening for granted. It became clear to him that true joy came from sharing what you love with others, and Alice's genuine interest in her plants became a gateway to his own deeper appreciation of the earth and its bounty. "I found myself drawn to her enthusiasm," Frank later remarked. "It made me want to share more about my own experiences. Before I knew it, I was looking forward to our conversations as much as she was." Frank's story highlights how enthusiasm for something as simple as gardening can spark genuine connections, even in later life. It's not about having extravagant hobbies or activities, but rather about engaging with life's small, meaningful pleasures. When Alice talked about her plants, she brought a contagious energy to their conversations. It was this enthusiasm, not her age or background, that made her so captivating. The science behind enthusiasm: how passion cultivates connection. Studies from the Active Aging Institute have shown that enthusiasm is one of the most attractive qualities in seniors who want to build meaningful relationships. Seniors who are passionate about a particular interest or hobby are 3 times more likely to form lasting connections than those who are not engaged in activities that bring them joy. It's not about how thrilling or adventurous someone's life is, but rather how they approach life with curiosity and excitement. What makes enthusiasm so compelling is its energy. When people speak about something they love, whether it is a hobby, a new book, or even a morning routine, the energy they exude makes them more engaging and inspiring to those around them. This enthusiasm is not limited to physical energy. It's an emotional and mental vitality that can transcend age. People who embrace life with passion naturally attract others who are drawn to that sense of vitality and positivity. Alice's gardening stories may have been simple, but they were filled with such authenticity and joy that they had the power to connect her with Frank, and later, others in her community. This concept is also reflected in the story of Margaret, a 73-year-old woman from Dallas. Margaret, living on a fixed income, had no means to travel or participate in expensive activities, but she found immense joy in a simple hobby: birdwatching. Her small apartment balcony became her personal sanctuary, where she put up bird feeders and began documenting the various species she observed. Margaret's newfound love for birdwatching became a passion that connected her to the world around her. Sarah and David, finding joy in new ways. Sarah, 69, had always been an active woman. She loved hiking, swimming, and other physical activities, but as arthritis gradually took hold, these physical activities became increasingly difficult. For a time, Sarah felt as though she had lost an important part of herself. She felt disconnected from her body and the things that once brought her joy. But then she discovered chair yoga and meditation, gentler ways to stay active and connected to her body. At first, Sarah wasn't sure if she would be able to find the same sense of fulfillment in these activities, but to her surprise, she found that yoga and meditation offered a new way to stay present and engaged with her physical self. "I thought my active days were over," Sarah said, reflecting on her journey. "But then I realized I could still move. I could still stretch. I could still find joy in my body's capabilities, even if they were different from before." Sarah's newfound passion for chair yoga led her to a senior wellness class, where she met David, a former marathon runner who was also adjusting to a slower pace of life. Like Sarah, David had once been active and had to adjust to physical limitations as he aged. Their shared enthusiasm for staying engaged with their bodies and minds became the foundation for a strong friendship. They bonded over their mutual love of movement and mindfulness. "It wasn't about what we couldn't do anymore," David said. "It was about what we could still do and how we could find joy in that." Sarah and David's story exemplifies how enthusiasm can help people rediscover themselves, even when faced with physical challenges. It's not about holding on to the past or resenting limitations, but about embracing the present and finding joy in new ways of living. Their connection was built on a shared sense of resilience and a positive outlook on life, showing that even when physical abilities change, enthusiasm for life can remain a powerful force. The power of positive personal energy. Rose's story. Enthusiasm is not always about physical activity or specific hobbies. It's also about the way we approach life, especially when faced with challenges or loss. Rose, 75, from Portland, had seen life in all its complexity. She had lost her husband after 40 years of marriage, battled arthritis, and faced the day-to-day challenges that come with aging. Despite these struggles, Rose carried herself with a quiet strength and warmth that made people feel at ease. She didn't pretend life was perfect, but she made a conscious choice to focus on what she could still enjoy rather than what she had lost. Rose's positive energy was infectious. One of the people most drawn to her was James, a 77-year-old retired carpenter who often found himself captivated by her presence at their community center. "Rose has this quiet joy about her," James said. "She doesn't ignore the tough parts of life, but she doesn't let them define her either. Being around her makes you feel lighter." Rose's ability to embrace life fully, even in the face of hardship, made her a source of inspiration to others. She focused not on what she had lost, but on what she still had: her strength, her hope, and her capacity to love life despite the difficulties it brought. This kind of positive personal energy is one of the most attractive qualities a person can have, regardless of age. It's not about being cheerful all the time, but about facing life's challenges with grace and resilience. The importance of enthusiasm at every age. As we've seen through the stories of Alice, Frank, Margaret, Tom, Sarah, David, and Rose, enthusiasm for life is not bound by age. In fact, it becomes even more powerful as we age. It's not about pretending to be happy or ignoring difficulties, but about embracing life's beauty, even in its most challenging moments. Whether through gardening, birdwatching, yoga, or simply living with a positive outlook, enthusiasm attracts people and fosters deep, meaningful connections. The key takeaway from these stories is that passion and enthusiasm are magnetic. They draw people in, inspire others, and create opportunities for growth, connection, and joy. As we navigate the later stages of life, it's important to remember that our ability to embrace life with enthusiasm is not only good for our own well-being, but also for the relationships we build. Enthusiasm is a powerful force that transcends age and reminds us that no matter how old we are, life is still worth living to the fullest.